If I were sitting where you are right now, feeling the changes, not getting clear answers, and wondering what actually matters, this is exactly what I would do. Not everything, not all at once, but the right things in the right order. Because this is where most women get stuck. They are either told, do nothing, you're fine, or they are overwhelmed with too much information and no clear direction. So let's simplify this. Welcome to the Menopause Truth Podcast, where we go beyond the noise and into what actually matters for your health so you can make informed decisions with confidence. I'm Dr. Monica Relvis, a physician board certified in lifestyle medicine and obesity medicine, and I have advanced training in hormone replacement therapy and cardiometabolic health. Before doing anything, I would understand what is happening in my body. Not dismiss symptoms, not normalize them, understand them. Because your symptoms are clues fatigue, sleep changes, weight redistribution, brain fog. These are not random, these are signals of underlying physiological changes. And if you don't understand the why, you will keep chasing the wrong solutions. Next, I would check what actually matters, not just standard labs, because standard labs often miss early changes. I would want to know, am I developing insulin resistance? That means checking fasting insulin and HOMA IR, not just glucose or hemoglobin A1C, because insulin rises years before glucose does. I would also want to know what is my true cardiovascular risk, not just LDL, but ApoB, which reflects the number of atherogenic particles, and lipoprotein little a, which is a genetic risk factor now recommended to be checked at least once in a lifetime in major guidelines. I would also look at high sensitivity CRP, which is a marker of inflammation because inflammation plays a role in atherosclerosis progression. What about bone? I would not wait for a fracture to think about bone health. I would get a baseline DEXA scan because bone loss is silent. And in the first few years after menopause, women lose significant bone density without feeling it. By the time a fracture happens, the disease is already advanced. So, what about hormones? Then I would consider whether hormone therapy is appropriate, not automatically, not dismissed, but thoughtfully, based on my symptoms, my age, my time since menopause, my personal risk factors. Because hormone therapy is not good or bad, it is context dependent. We do have strong evidence that starting hormone therapy closer to menopause is associated with a more favorable risk benefit profile. This has been shown in studies like the ELITE trial, which showed differences in vascular effects depending on timing, but that does not mean that women further from menopause cannot benefit. It means that the conversation needs to be individualized because people can still have symptom improvement and support for bone health and meaningful improvements in quality of life. And we also have data from studies like the Danish osteoporosis prevention study suggesting that in appropriately selected women, hormone therapy has long term benefits, including cardiovascular outcomes. So the question is not, am I too old for hormones? The real question is, what makes sense for me given where I am now? And that requires nuance. It requires understanding route, formulation, dose, and monitoring. What about building the foundations? No matter what I choose, this part is not optional. I would build the foundations of metabolic health, like strength training, because muscle is one of the most powerful tools for improving insulin sensitivity and protecting bone. Adequate protein intake supports muscle maintenance and metabolic function. Sleep, because poor sleep drives cortisol, insulin resistance, and weight gain. And stress management, because chronic stress affects every system that we have. These are not optional, they are the base of everything else. What about medications? I would also be open to using medication when needed, not as a failure, but as a tool. If my ApoB is elevated and lifestyle is not enough, I would consider lipid lowering therapy because atherosclerosis develops over decades. And if my bone density is declining, I would address it early too, because prevention is very different from treatment after a fracture. The goal is not to avoid medication at all costs. The goal is to reduce risk and protect long term health. Speaking of long term, this is the mindset shift. I would stop thinking only about today. I would start thinking about the next 10, 20, 30 years because cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis develop silently over time. And what I do now changes the trajectory. This is your window, not to react, but to act. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things consistently. That is where real change happens. If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. You are not behind. You are at a point where awareness can change everything because the goal is not perfection, it is direction. And with the right direction, you can change your health trajectory for decades to come. I'll see you in the next episode.